Good evening, and welcome to Creative Broadcasting, the station of unlimited possibilities, presents Creating Your Seat at the Table with your host, Ashley Little, as she welcomes her guest to the table.
Radio and TV Network, LLP. Tonight we have an amazing special VIP guest by the name of Ash Cash. A little bit about him. Ash Cash is a 15-year banking executive, personal finance expert, motivational speaker, and the author of 6 books, including 3 Amazon.com bestsellers. He is the founder and chief financial educator of Mind Right Money Management, a financial education and media company that blends psychology and personal finance with music, pop culture, and relevant news to help people manage their money better in order to live the life that they want. He is also a financial teacher as well as a leadership council member of the World of Money Financial Institute, a 501c3 nonprofit organization whose mission is to empower youth with an immersive financial and technology education, creating financially responsible adults one child at a time. Ash has established himself as a thought leader and trusted voice of corporate America, colleges, churches, and community-based organizations. Through his message of fiscal responsibility, entrepreneurship, and wealth empowerment, he has become a regular speaker at national conferences across the country. Ash has been featured on popular national media outlets such as CNN, the New York Times, WSJ, American Banker, CNBC, TheStreet.com, Black Enterprise, SS Magazine, Ebony, BET, Pix11 Morning News, and countless others. He is the host of his own radio show titled The Ash Cash Show, which airs on WHCR 90.3 FM New York with a current reach of 2.2 million listeners. Above all his credentials, accolades, and titles, Ash is simply known for helping people maximize their full potential. He thoroughly enjoys his life in metropolitan New York area where he resides with his wife and 2 children. You can also read more about Ash by visiting www.iamashcash.com. Welcome to the table, the amazing Ash Cash.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. And I know you're about to drop some wisdom and knowledge on the line with my listeners tonight. So would you please tell us more about your entrepreneurship journey?
Yeah. So, first, I'm just a kid from Harlem, New York. Grew up in the public housing, the St. Nicholas houses. And, from an early start, I just knew that life was about being abundant, being a product of a single-parent home. I'm the youngest of 3, and my mother did her best to raise us. I was always an entrepreneur, and so at 8 years old, I was packing bags at the local supermarket to help my mother make ends meet. I graduated to, selling mixtapes and CDs as a vendor on 125th Street when I was 12 years old. And then, when I was 17, I got a job working at a video store. And then 2 years later, got the opportunity to work as a banker or as a teller at one of the largest financial institutions in the world, JP Chase. From there, I just always knew that I wanted to be in charge. I wanted to, create my own destiny. And so I did a couple of things in banking. Branch manager. I was the CEO of a credit union, but I really wanted to control my destiny. And so for the past 10 years, I've been on a mission to, an entrepreneurship mission, but really on a mission to help people change their mindset in order to manage their money. And so I've written several books. 3 of my books were bestsellers, and I travel the country in order to help people change their mindset as it relates to money. So I would call myself a wealth coach, but through being a wealth coach, there are so many different ways that I'm able to monetize helping people, which I say as an entrepreneur, that's how you're actually an entrepreneur, is by finding a problem that people have and being able to help people create or give people an answer to that problem, and that's how you build a sustaining business.
I love that, and you consistently help everybody follow you consistently, and I know I'm one of those people. You consistently drop knowledge every day about finances and about wealth. So it is nothing that you just talk about. You practice what you preach, and you have the track record for it as well. So I commend you for creating that space.
Thank you.
And you're also passionate about, like we just said, about helping people manage their money better in order to live the life that they want. So can you please tell us more about your passion and the movement that you have created?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think for so long, there's been this narrative around money that only equates to making money, right? And so when we think about all of the folks that are on Instagram, all the gurus, all the people who talk about real estate, talk about wealth, all of that is necessary. But I think that there is a missing layer, which is the management of money. Like why is it that wealth gets lost after the third generation, right? So even those who are able to pass down wealth from generation to generation, they don't do it for a lifetime. They do it after the third generation. The family usually has to start over. And then when you think about, athletes who get a whole bunch of money and, lose it very quickly, people who win the lottery who, lose their money after, within 5 years, it shows that it's not really about making money, because the same financial habits that you have at $30,000 are the same financial habits you're going to have at $100,000, which are going to be the same financial habits that you have at $1 million. And so it's important that at every level, at every space of the financial game, whether you're not making any money, whether you're right in the middle, or whether you're super affluent, that you create a financial habit, right? You create financial habits that allow you to manage your money the best way possible, so that way you can enjoy your money, live your best life, but then also, create generational wealth. And so the movement that I've been able to create is just a movement about changing your mindset, changing your relationship with money, most importantly, instead of working hard for money, because that's what we're taught. We're taught that we need to work hard for money. But instead of working hard for money, we need money to work hard for us. And by doing that, we create a cycle where we're not fully dependent on our physical labor in order to create wealth. We're focused on income-producing assets. And then when those assets are, done the right way, now we can grow wealth. Now we can, choose what we do with our time, and we do the right things with our time, and we're able to really create financial freedom. And so it's just a movement of redefining what wealth is, redefining, what money management is, and creating a narrative where people are understanding that in order for you to create wealth, you first have to be an owner. You have to own something, whether it's owning a business, owning intellectual property, owning real estate, but then also changing your relationship with money so that you're not working hard for money, but money's working hard for you.
So what are some of these strategies that people can do to change the way they think about money, right? Because like you said, no matter, your financial habits and the way you spend money is not going to change regardless of how much money you make. So what are some strategies that they can take, the listeners can take to change those money habits, right, to make sure they're creating those income-producing assets?
Yeah, I think that it's important that when we look at, traditionally what we do or how we make and spend money, it is to, use our physical labor. So whether we own a business or whether we have a 9-to-5, we wake up every morning, we work, and then from that physical labor, we provide a product, or we create a product, or provide a service, and then from there, we're given money. And from the money that we're given, we then use that money to buy the things that are going to, give us the best life that we want. Whether it's pay our bills, whatever, all the different things, whether it's buying nice things, whatever it is, we use that money. And then when that money is depleted, we then go back to that next cycle where we work again, we make money, and then we buy things. And so I think the first practical thing is that if you didn't grow up with a lot of money, if you're not a trust fund baby, that in the beginning you're going to have to work for money. But instead of working for money, and then once you earn that money, instead of using that money to buy your things, you now start to live below your means, right? You live below your means so that you have some money left over that you put in what I like to call a financial freedom fund. as you're working, you're putting money in your financial freedom fund. You now have a chunk of money that you can begin to invest. I always say that if given an opportunity to do it over, my first home would have been an investment property, right? So I bought my first home when I was 25 years old, and it was a multi-family home that I decided that I lived in. My family lived in with me. But instead of doing that, I probably would have, bought a multi-family home, but I would have, got a landlord, or I would have got a tenant, and I would have became a landlord, and I would have rented out this apartment and created a source of passive income. Because what passive income is money that you don't necessarily have to work for. So think about that for a second. If I bought a multifamily home, I got a tenant to pay my mortgage, or I rent out an apartment to a tenant, and that tenant essentially is paying my mortgage, and so the money that I normally would have been using to pay my mortgage is money that I can save or invest in another property. That's one example. If you have intellectual property, I'm an author, I've written several books, but each time I'm only writing a book one time. And after I write the book, once the book is out there, as long as I'm marketing it right or whatever the case may be, each month I get a check, I get royalties, I get residual income from Amazon for people buying that book. So that's another form of passive income when you do something one time. If you invest in the in the stock market. Even though the stock market is more so of a long-term game, but that's also another way that you create passive income. So the point is that when you create passive income, you begin actively working, but then as you actively work, you then take your money and put it in something that's going to create passive income. And if you keep doing that over and over again, you then get to a space where your passive income exceeds the amount of money that you're actively working for, and that's how you eventually create this financial freedom, and that's how you eventually create this cycle of not having to work for money, but money working for you.
And thank you for sharing those nuggets with our listeners, because I know there's some people on here that could have better spending habits, right? And I don't think that has an age on it, right? So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
So why is it important to build our family legacy? I know you speak about legacy all the time when you're speaking and things like that. That's something that's part of your platform. So why is it so important for us to build our family legacy?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, as a black person living in America, and you think about sort of like the economic injustices that have happened here in America, building wealth is only 50 years old for black Americans. But if we look at America as a whole, we're looking at the cycle of wealth not being properly distributed to everyone, right? And so when you look at the 1%ers, when people say the 99% and the 1%, the 1% means there are 400 families where, in America, there are about 300 million households in America, and out of those 300 million, about 400 of those own majority of the wealth, right? Which is so this is why there's the 1% and the 99%, and so that transcends color lines. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever you are. There is a disparity between those who are wealthy and those who are trying to figure things out. And so when I talk about legacy, it's because when you think about the cycle of money, in a capitalist society, in a democratic society, there should be a flow of money where money comes into your hand. You recycle that money by patronizing small businesses. Those small businesses put money back into hiring people. The money that people make from hiring is what they get in their household, and it's this cycle of money going from business owner to household, business owner to household. But what's happening is wealthy people are, getting this wealth and then they're hoarding onto it. And so that's why the wealth of, everyday people are diminishing. And so building a legacy is about, creating a system where that wealth is not just diminishing. That wealth is staying within your family longer. That wealth is, being passed down from generation to generation. Real estate is one of those big things that become the biggest expense that most people pay out of their pocket. And so imagine, having a home and not your kids not having to worry about, that expense, that you're able to pass down a home to them. Imagine that you're, passing down assets instead of debt, that, when it's time for you to depart, transition from the earth, you're not, leaving your family with debt that they have to take care of, but instead you're giving them assets and you're giving them, a step up. And so that's what legacy is about. Legacy is really breaking the cycle of poverty. It's really allowing your family to not have to start from zero. As somebody who, I had nothing, I had to work at a young age. I want my kids to enjoy their youth. I don't want them to have to be out trying to hustle, figuring out how they're going to eat. And so that cycle is broken by building a legacy, by making sure that you're having money conversations with your kids early. You're teaching them how to have the proper money mindset. And so that way that is ingrained not just in a family, but it's ingrained in our culture. It's ingrained in how we just operate and how we do business, so that we continue to be, a wealthy country, and that, that there isn't this fear of, the middle class being wiped out, and now you just have the ultra wealthy and the ultra poor. We need to bring balance back into, the wealth system that's here in America, and the only way we do that is by teaching people how to build legacies and how to change their relationship with money.
And that's so important, and which is why I want to touch on this next question, because I'm curious to know your answer to it. What do you think the number one cause is for poor management of money?
I think the number one cause of poor management is the lack of education. I think that because, my mother used to say, if you knew better, you do better. And I think that a lot of times people are their habits. They are what they repeatedly do. And so if you're not taught proper money management habits and you don't practice those habits over and over again, then you get into a cycle of bad money management, right? You think about the amount of times that you are being approached or being marketed to on a daily basis. Where, now, especially because we have smartphones, so every single day when you're watching television, there's something that's trying to entice you to spend money. When you get on your phone and you're on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, there's some type of ad, there's something trying to convince you to spend money. When you speak to your friends and family and you're looking at them and you're watching how they're moving around, there's things telling you to spend money. You pass the bus, you go to the train, you're in your car, whatever it is, there's always these messages on a daily basis that telling you spend money. And so if you don't have the proper discipline, if you don't have the proper financial systems in place, then you're going to succumb to the pressures, the thousands of times that you're being pressured to spend money. And so I think the number one reason is because people don't have the right financial habits, nor do they have the right financial systems in place. And I believe that if we had the financial habits and the financial systems in place, then it doesn't really matter how many times you're being marketed to. You would only buy things based on necessity, based on what you budget, based on what you allocate your money to be used for.
So what are some strategies you would give to listeners who are struggling with their finances and they feel stuck?
Yeah, I would say number one is to automate your finances. Again, because there's so many messages that are out there that are telling people where to spend, how to spend, that if you leave it up to yourself, you're never going to get it right. And so you have to automate it, right? And, I am a proponent of having multiple accounts. I would say that everybody should have 2 checking accounts. One checking account should be your bill account. And that bill account, you should not have a debit card attached to it. It should only be, you should only have access via online banking to pay your bills online. Then you have another checking account, which is your spending account, which will be the amount of money that you allocate for spending. And that's the only account that you should have a debit card for. Your other account that you should have is you should have 2 savings accounts. One savings account is going to be your financial freedom fund. Most people call it their emergency fund, but I am a big believer that words have power, and so we're not calling emergencies into our lives, so we're not going to call it an emergency fund. We're going to call it the financial freedom fund. And your financial freedom fund should have at least 6 to 8 months of expenses in that account, but you should automate it. It's not going to have that immediately once you open it, and so you should take a percentage. 10% of your income should go automatically into that financial freedom fund, and then the other savings account that you have is going to be for your long-term savings. So if you're saving for something in particular, you want to have an account that does that. Your savings account should not be at the same bank that you have your primary checking account. Majority of the reasons why people do not, hold on to their savings is because they make the mistake of having their savings account at the same exact bank that they have their checking account. And whenever, Macy's has a buy one, get one free sale, they look at their account. And even though it's allocated for something else, they're like, you know what, I'll just take it from here, I'll put this back. They convince themselves to touch that savings account. But if you have a savings account that you don't have a debit card for, it's not in your same bank, it's either on an online bank or a regional bank that's very inconvenient for you to get to, the likeliness of you going into that account is very slim. And so you increase the chances of you really keeping that savings habit. So that's what I would say immediately. Make sure you're setting up your accounts in a way that you're going to win financially and automate those finances, so you take the pressure from you. You take away the thought of you having to manage your money.
And making sure you at different banks, that is so, everything that you said was key, but definitely, because I think that's what a lot of people, like you said, they mess up and we have everything at the same bank, right? And then we see a sale and that's it, especially when you're trying to budget and save.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Like that's the number one thing, because the pressure, especially for those, we work hard, right? And so if you're working hard for your money, your mind is going to convince you, like, go ahead, you worked hard. Go ahead, go get that extra shoe, right? Go ahead, go get that watch. Go ahead, go get that suit. You're saving money. You're buying 2 suits for the price of 1, right? Your mind is going to convince you, and so you have to remove as much temptation away from yourself as possible.
Yes, and I know you just spoke about manifestation, and I want to talk more about that because you always speak about manifestation. So why is manifestation so important when trying to build generational wealth? Because words are powerful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that for whatever reason, we don't realize that we are all spiritual beings that are just going through this human existence. And so as a spiritual being, we are governed by spiritual laws. And so you have there's different laws of the universe. You have the law of attraction, which is the biggest law, but you also have the law of allowance. You have the law of action. There's so many different laws, and in order to manifest, it really starts with your thought process. It starts with the mind. It starts with what you believe that you can have. Whatever you call it, whether you call it God, whether you call it the universe, whether you call it Allah, whatever you call it Buddha, there is a higher power that controls all. But this higher power is not trying to punish you. The higher power gives you exactly what you want. And so what you want is not demonstrated with your words, it's demonstrated with your thoughts. It's demonstrated with your belief system. It's demonstrated with what you actually believe you can have. And so in order to begin the manifestation process, if you're telling yourself, the wrong things, if you're not envisioning a life that is abundant, if you can't see yourself, living, a lifestyle that is conducive to what you want, if you can't see that in real life, what you're going to get is more of the same, more of the things that the limitations that you put on yourself. And so, as it relates to your finances, it's all thought. It's all belief system. If you believe that, the economy is bad, and because the economy is bad, I can't live my best life, then that's going to be your reality. But if you believe that regardless of what's happening in the economy, that the universe is abundant and God is going to provide you with everything that you need, in divine time, and that thought process, that belief system is what's going to give you the opportunities, is going to give you the access, is going to give you everything that you need to take your vision from out of your head and put it into your real life so you can feel it, so you can actually enjoy it. Because the point of having thoughts, the point of having belief systems is not just so that we can sit back and use our imagination and just keep it in our head. It's for us to actually be able to manifest it. It's for us to actually be able to live that life that we want to live. And so it always starts with the thought process, but not just the thought process, it's the belief system as well. And that's why words are powerful, because the more you tell yourself something, the more you start to believe it. And so as you tell yourself, even if it's something you don't believe at the moment, the more you repeat it to yourself, the more you tell it to yourself, you'll start to change the fabric of your belief system. And as you believe, that's what you're going to start to manifest into your reality.
And that is so true. And like I said, you wrote many books, right? And you just had the latest one that came out. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so I wrote a book called Hustlenomicon, which is based on the legacy of Nipsey Hussle. And Hustlenomics is a book that, if anybody followed, his music, his work, you'll realize that that Nipsey Hussle was somebody who focused on ownership, focused on, owning your own, owning your now in order to build your future. And unfortunately, he was taken out, from us in the physical, but, his lessons are still here. And then if we, look at his lyrics and we look at, the lessons that he was teaching, you can really take your life to the next level. And so, I wrote a book, which is actually twofold. So it's a free book. If you go to hustlenomics.com, you can download the book for free. It gives you the history of America. It gives you the history of, Nipsey Hussle. How did the ghettos come about? Systemic oppression. We talk about him going back home to Eritrea and getting in contact with his roots in Africa, and that giving him the foresight, right? That's what gave him the vision to believe that he can have anything that he put his mind to. And then we give you a game plan. We give you a game plan, based on his lyrics, some of the things that he believed and how he became successful. But there's also an action plan that you can actually take called the Victory Lap Action Plan that, you don't have to be a hip-hop head. You can be anybody, but it really gives you a step-by-step game plan on how to create a business plan, how to create a marketing plan, how to, create your SWOT analysis, your strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, and threats. It gives you, how to find your target market, all the things that you need in order to be successful as a business person. And so I wrote that book. I released it August 15th, which is his birthday. And it's, I'm glad to say that it's done very well. There is a paperback version available as well for those who want to, actually have the physical copy to write down their things. But again, it's totally free. You can go to hustlenomics.com to get the free version.
Awesome. I was just going to tell you to tell them how they can get it. So please go get the book. Ashcast is pretty awesome. He's written some amazing books. So definitely go get the book. And Ash, you own, you're the CEO and founder of Financial Education at Mind Right Money Management. So can you tell our listeners all the different services that you have? So if you have somebody who wants you to coach them, it could be, they can definitely buy your services on here. Can you please tell us more about your services?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so Mind Right Money Management, is a company that I started because I started to realize again that it's all about the mindset. And so, I could teach you everything that you need to know about money, but if you don't have the proper mindset, you're never going to be successful. And that's just not only with money, that's with life, that's with relationships, that's with your health. Everything is related to your mindset. And so Mind Right Money Management is a financial education company. We blend psychology, with topical information. So like Nipsey Hussle book. I have a book written with Jay-Z, one with Kanye West. These are all ways of using music and relevant content to teach people how to manage their money better. But we offer credit repair services. We also have an online school called Mind Right Money Academy that helps people retrain their mind and manage their money better. We also do a lot of work with colleges, so we have a college program. We also have one-on-one services, and so if someone needs one-on-one help, they can go to our website mindrightmoney.com and set up a consultation to work with folks one-on-one. But the other thing, if people can't afford or are not ready to get one-on-one coaching, we do have a group coaching program, which is called the Mind Right Legacy Builders Program. And the Mind Right Legacy Builders Program is literally, the price of, not even a coffee. It's less than a coffee. It's like the price of a pack of gum every day. But it gives you the tips. It gives you the tools. There's your own personal financial website that you get that helps you, track your expenses and help you build your net worth. And you can go to mindrightmoney.com, but also mindrightlegacy.com to get access of those services. But pretty much, we cover everybody. We cover children, we cover young adults, and we cover adults, just really helping them retrain their mind so they can manage their money better and live their best lives.
So for our listeners that are listening, definitely reach out to Ash Cash. He's definitely somebody to know and connect with, and let's get our money right. If you're one of those listeners that need to have better finances and need a coach and need his services, definitely reach out and connect with him. So Ash, you have built multiple tables, and you continue to do that. So how did you create your seat at the table?
Yeah, I think that I created a seat at the table by just understanding what I was passionate about, and then providing that as a service. Because the one thing I want to say that I learned about this life is that there is no destination. There isn't a place that you're trying to get to. And so for so long, even during my career as a banker, for so long I was chasing after somebody else's seat, right? I wanted to be successful because that's what I just thought it was. I just thought that because I'm in this space, I have to keep climbing and getting to the top. But while I was being successful and I was appeasing or making other people happy, I wasn't really happy in myself. I wasn't fulfilled. I'll get to a destination and then still want more and say, wow, it's not even about the destination. It's really about the journey. And so, I decided that I wanted to create my own seat. Instead of waiting for people, instead of asking for a seat at the table, it was really about, finding that thing that I love. That if I didn't get anywhere, if there wasn't a destination to get to, would I be happy every day that I wake up? Am I happy motivating people? Am I happy inspiring people? Am I happy changing lives? And the answer is yes. So every single day I wake up with a passion, with a burning desire to help inspire and motivate people into action, to help them, live their best lives. And we talked about universal laws earlier. And one of the universal laws that I adhere to that works every time is that you get what you give, right? And so if you want love, you give love. If you want money, you give money. If you want, time, you give time. And if you want blessings, you be a blessing. And so for me, when I realized that my journey was to bless others, it just inadvertently became a boomerang. And so as I was blessing others, the universe was blessing me. And that's what allowed me to have this seat at the table. I am fortunate to be at a space where, I have a lot, I've done a lot in my career. I've been able to help a lot of people, but in helping a lot of people, I've also been able to live a fabulous life with my family, and be able to be a blessing to others. And so, creating that seat at the table started with me finding something that I love to do, something that I'm passionate about, and just did it. I wasn't worried in the beginning how I was going to make money doing it. It was just like, you know what, I love doing this. Let me do it. And as I was doing it, the opportunity started to make sense. Like it just kind of opened up. Like, oh, you should write a book. Oh, you should start speaking. Oh, you should create, a online subscription base. Oh, all of these different, ideas and opportunities started to open up. And as I started to continue to be obedient also and listen to what the universe was telling me, that's what allowed me to create my seat at the table.
I love that. And we all have a process on our journey. And so what did failure teach you on your journey?
Oh, my God. I think that failure taught me that failure is just part of success. It taught me that failure is not failure unless you give up. It taught me that, success, success is not this linear thing where you just climb up a mountain and that's it. Sometimes you're going to fall. Sometimes you got to take a step back in order to take a step forward. Sometimes you're going to go, north in order to go south. Sometimes you have to go east in order to go west. But understanding that it's all part of the process, that the good, the bad, and the ugly all work in your favor to get you exactly what you asked for. And so, I've embraced failure. I actually look for failure because at the end of the day, the faster you can get to failure, the quicker you get to success. Because when you figure out the things that you don't do or you're not supposed to do, you'll get you'll get to a space of knowing what you should be doing. And then the next time around, you get to success faster and faster and faster. I remember, my first book that I wrote back in 2009, sold 80 copies. I just sold 80 copies the whole year. Really, lost money because I put so much money out there. But that failure, I could have easily just gave up. I could have easily said, hey, you know what, I'm not going to write books anymore. But in that failure, my second book, I did it a little different. My third book, I did it a little different. To the point now when I put out a book, I know before I even put the book out whether it's going to be a bestseller or not because I've learned, from my failure. So, I would say that failure taught me how to be successful. And to anybody who is afraid of failure, it actually means that you're afraid of success because you can't have one without the other.
I love that because I love how you put that because it's so important. And we know that failure is part of the process. So you're very, very successful. So what did success teach you?
Success taught me that it's not about you. It's about people. I've been in spaces where I looked at my success and I was full of myself. I looked at my success and said, yes, I was able to do this. And I was on, my high horse and really kind of pushing into people's faces that, look, I'm this guy from the projects who was able, to have all this success. But that, it didn't make me feel good. It didn't make other people feel good. And most importantly, the universe did not spare me and did not give me this story just so I can gloat. And so success taught me that, once you get to a space, there's so many people that look like you, that might be in a similar situation as you, that need help, that need guidance, that need people to help them, get to that next level. And so, I success taught me that the reason why, I have my story, the reason why I was able to escape, in a way where most people are not given the opportunity to escape, it's not about me. It's about other people. It's so that I become a credible messenger. And so, as I continue to journey and to break down barriers and to do things that people don't think is possible to do, it's all just so I can motivate and inspire people. I've lived, I live and have lived a wonderful life. And so at this point, it's not about me anymore. It's not about, what I can get. It's not about what stages I could be on, because I've been on some big stages with some, with some legends and some magnificent people. And so it's not really about that anymore. It's about, how many people can I inspire by being a demonstration? How many people can I, help, get out their own way? And success did that, right? Success, real success, not the success that's arrogant and full of self, the success that says, thank you, God, for showing me, showing me that, I can be an example for people that are normally counted out. And that's what my ministry is. My message is about, the underdog. It's about the people that were counted out. People told me that I was going to be dead or in jail by 24. But by 24, I was I was a VP at one of the largest financial institutions in the world, And so, that message, when I go back to the inner cities, when I go to jails, when I go to churches and I have conversations with people that, may have counted themselves out, they can see in me that it's possible. And so success has taught me that, I think, I forget who said this quote, but it says, when you get to the top floor, make sure you send the elevator back down. And that's what, I've been doing with success, is making sure that I'm sending the elevator back down.
And you do it on a consistent basis. So thank you for reaching back and pulling forward, Ashcash. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. No, it's my pleasure.
So what can we expect from you the rest of 2019? We're walking into the fourth quarter, so I know you're going to finish it strong. So what can we expect from you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so right now, I'm working on a wealth tour, and so I want to be able to touch different cities and to spread this message in real life. I have a big presence on social media, but nothing beats actually feeling and touching the people. And so I'll be in New York, I'll be in Washington D.C. In October, I'll be in Mississippi. And so, I'm really just on a mission to touch the people. And so for the rest of 2019 is focusing on, how I can really touch the people in real life. And so if you have an organization, if you have a group of people that need some inspiration, that needs tools, whether it's business tools or personal finance tools, make sure you reach out, info@mindrightmoney.com. But then I'm also relaunching my subscription-based product, and so I'm creating a financial planner that's going to be pretty easy for people to follow, and I want to be able to have that ready for the holiday season so that people are going into 2020 with the 2020 vision financially that they need.
Love that. So definitely support Ashcash on all of the amazing things that he's continuing to do. Now, your tour starts soon, so they can go on your website and find out every city, right, as it continues, as you travel.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, if you go to my website, imashcash.com, there's definitely information on there that'll tell you, as the tour starts, what cities I'm going to touch. But again, let's be proactive. If you have a group of people and you want to see me in your city, make sure you email me info@mindrightmoney.com so we can make sure we put that on the agenda as well.
Yeah, so definitely email him and get Ashcash to your city because this is needed. So please tell our listeners, Ash, how they can follow you on all social media platforms again and connect with you.
For sure. So, again, if you go to my website, imashcash.com, all of my information is there. You'll see my social media platforms. But if you want to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you can follow me, and my handle is IamAshcash. So I make it easy for you. IamAshcash.com. My handle's IamAshcash. But you can also, I'm Googleable as well.